too. It's Beverly and I's first Christmas together. We had just purchased a 3-bedroom bungalow in Pasadena. This was back in the day when you could drive from there to Los Angeles without it turning into a vehicular version of the Bataan Death March. Beverly and I are clearing the dishes from dinner when we hear a noise coming from the backyard. She grabs a flashlight and a broomstick and goes out to investigate. And she comes right back in and says very simply, "Errol Flynn is passed out in our backyard." Sure enough, there was Errol Flynn, face down, drunk as a skunk. Beverly and I picked him up, and he looks me straight in the eye and he says, "Marty Lydecker, as I live and breathe, what are you doing in Olivia de Havilland's foyer?" I said, "We're not in Olivia de Havilland's foyer, we're in Pasadena." To which he replied, "Well, how the fuck did I get to Pasadena?" That part had us stumped. So we get him inside. Beverly is pouring coffee down his throat to sober him up. I'm on the horn with the studio trying to get somebody to pick him up before the papers catch wind that he's here. And Flynn is crying because apparently the Army labeled him 4F for war service due to his health. Now, even though the studio always played up his athleticism, he actually had a heart murmur, recurrent malaria, and TB. He also had so many venereal diseases that his ejaculate could eat through steel. So we moved to the living room. Flynn is sitting glumly by the fire eating a piece of chocolate cake while trying half-heartedly to flirt with Beverly. Beverly has to remind him that they had already had a one-night stand during the shooting of Captain Blood. He asked, "How was I?" She said, "Spectacular, but I'm married now." To which he replied, "Happily?" which drew a pointed scowl from me. At this point, there was a knock on the door. Beverly went to answer it, assuming that it was the studio fixer. But when she opened it, a robber burst in with a pistol, grabbed Beverly, and yelled, "Nobody move! This is a hold-up!" "Wait a minute! Aren't you Errol Flynn?" Beverly used that moment to push him against the door frame. I leapt up to try to grab his gun, but he pushed us both down to the ground. But before he can open fire, Flynn grabs the poker by the fireplace and yells, "Stand and deliver, varlet!" He then knocks the gun out of the robber's hand and then runs the poker through his left shoulder, sending him to the ground. As he's lying there, passing out from the pain, he gets out one sentence. "Can I have your autograph?" And that, my friends, is the power of cinema. Well, the police, the ambulance, and the studio fixer all arrive at the same time. The fixer lays out enough cash to get Flynn's name out of the whole mess. And as he's dragging Flynn back to his car, Flynn suddenly turns around and blows Beverly a kiss. She swoons a little, but I choose to let it go. Later that night, I asked Beverly if she'd ever considered getting serious with Flynn. She just laughed and said, "You get serious with Errol Flynn at your own peril. He is a mixture of frivolity and self-loathing. He's a great lay, but that's only good for one night. I need a good man for the long haul, and that's you." She then leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. And then she added, "Also, you've never given me the clap, so that's another point in your favor."